Around 10 a.m., a little bit after that. Follow the latest on thenationaldesk.com.
President Trump praising federal law enforcement for their efforts with his crime crackdown in D.C. And now one lawmaker plans to introduce new legislation to combat violence in soft on crime cities. Senator Marsha Blackburn joining us right now with a preview of two new bills that she is unveiling today. Good morning to you, Senator. Great to see you as always.
Morning.
Now, these bills center on cashless bail. They are backed by the White House. What's in these bills?
And what we are seeking to do, Jan, is to end these cashless bail policies. We know that this basically becomes a revolving door for repeat criminals. And we've heard so much from law enforcement that many times before they finish the paperwork that defines the crime, that the perpetrator of that crime is back out on the street because of these cashless bail policies. So if you disallow that, and if you require a cash bail and having to have that bail set before an individual could be released, then what you are doing is requiring that posting. It requires that person to be detained. It gives the law enforcement officer the time to do that paperwork and actually define what the crime is that has taken place. And you're more likely to see that individual to be held until they are before a judge or until they can face prosecution for the crime that they have. When you have cities, DC's been a great example of this. You look at the 2,000 people that have been arrested, many of them repeat criminals. And when you require that posting of bail, you get a different outcome.
Do you welcome federal law enforcement in your state?
Oh, yes, indeed. And in Memphis, we have had the FBI conducting a surge. I worked with Kash Patel on this. When he came to see me, before he ever went to Judiciary Committee for his hearing, I noted to him the crime stats from Memphis and that it was the most dangerous per capita in the country. And he promised that he would work with us on this. He has surged resources. The FBI is carrying that out right now. And Jan, they have apprehended hundreds of gang leaders and gang participants that have been committing crimes in that area. And the citizens and the elected officials in the area have welcomed that help.
Also today, Senator Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. is going to testify on Capitol Hill. Yes. This is a day after a group called Save HHS signed a letter asking him to resign. This is the same group which wrote a similar letter last month criticizing Kennedy to, quote, stop spreading inaccurate health information. HHS Communications Director Andrew Nixon responded with this, saying Secretary Kennedy has been clear the CDC has been broken for a long time. Restoring it as the world's most trusted guardian of public health will take sustained reform and more personal changes. From his first day in office, he pledged to check his assumptions at the door, and he asked every HHS colleague to do the same. That commitment to evidence-based science is why in just 7 months, he and the HHS team have accomplished more than any health secretary in history in the fight to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. Clearly, he needs to restore some trust in the CDC, Senator. You are on that Senate Finance Committee, which has jurisdiction over HHS. What questions do you have for Secretary Kennedy later today?
And I'm looking forward to having a conversation with him about some of the work that he is doing with food and how you're looking at these processed foods. That's been an area of interest of mine for many, many years, and I appreciate his attention to that. Also, when you look at vaccines and what is being approved or not approved, and Jan, one component of this is to pay attention to the revolving door that exists at HHS. And this is what many of the employees are fussing about. They go work with a pharmaceutical company and they're there for a while, and then they move back over to the NIH or the CDC or HHS.
Why is that allowed? Why is that allowed? Why are we seeing former CDC directors or former directors of NIH working for pharmaceutical companies?
And this is a big question, and this is something I want to talk with him about today. But Jan, I think it's so important to realize many of these HHS employees are upset with RFK because he's saying, you can't do this, and you ought not to be doing this. And he is pointing out the improper nature of that revolving door. So it is going to be a good hearing. We're looking forward to having him in front of us at 10:15 this morning. And I have my questions ready, and I hope that your viewers will take time to tune in to that hearing.
Very quickly, what do you say to your Democratic colleagues who've been calling for him to be fired?
What they need to realize is that the American people are wanting to see power and authority return to the states. And as you see these federal agencies and these bureaucracies skinnied up and power and authority going back to the states and the labs of innovation in our country, then, and as you see federal mandates being removed, that kind of rocks their world because they want to have power centralized in Washington, D.C. And President Donald Trump and his administration are saying, no, the authority and the power is going back to the people in the states.
Senator Marsha Blackburn from the great state of Tennessee, thanks for joining us this morning.
You got it. Take care.
You too.